Longer. Tonight, former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama breaking their silence on all this speculation about their marriage and rumors of divorce. The former president joining his wife and brother-in-law on their podcast, and this is what they said.
There hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting my man. And we've had some really hard times, so we have had a lot of fun times, a lot of adventures, and I have become a better person because of the man I'm married to.
Okay, don't make me cry now. Right at the beginning of the show.
The Obamas married in Chicago in 1992. The former president has often said that Michelle Obama made him stronger. Tonight, former president.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago. So do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment. When I heard he was found dead, I knew immediately. And they made it seem as though he made that suicide attempt 2 weeks earlier, but his lawyers claimed that he was roughed up by his cellmate around the neck. That was all to plant the seed. And then that's why I really believe it, really believe it.
And Farrow levied at NBC for not airing his story about Harvey Weinstein.
Clearly, Amy Robach thought she was having a private off-air conversation when she made these comments about an interview she had with a woman who claimed Jeffrey Epstein held her as a sex slave for 12 years.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story.
Project Veritas, conservative activists who often target the media, was given the tape by someone who once worked for ABC.
It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything.
Shortly after Epstein's suicide in August, NPR's David Folkenflik dove into why ABC never aired Robach's explosive interview.
Shortly before the interview was due to air, Harvard emeritus law professor Alan Dershowitz called the network. He was also one of Epstein's lead defense attorneys.
It's similar to what happened after author and part-time NBC reporter Ronan Farrow got interviews with women saying they had been sexually assaulted by movie mogul Harvey Weinstein, a story NBC refused to air, so Farrow took it elsewhere.
I walked into the door at the New Yorker with an explosively reportable piece that should have been public earlier.
NBC claims Farrow's story did not meet network standards. Farrow disagrees. ABC said the same thing about Amy Robach's Epstein story. But Robach now says she agrees with ABC's decision and that she was just venting on that tape. Meanwhile, after ABC placed a courtesy call to CBS, warning them the leaker was now working there, CBS fired the staffer.
Yeah, that happened yesterday at some point, although apparently today the person who was fired is saying it wasn't her, but they must have had the goods somewhere. I don't know. Amy Robach sounded pretty certain about what she had. And, the fact that ABC held it, she had the interview with that Virginia Roberts, Jeffrey, whatever her name is. She had a number of other things. I believe that Alan Dershowitz and others had a role in this, don't you?
Well, certainly Dershowitz had a role in fighting aggressively on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein and also himself. You have a situation here. We're looking at all this being post Harvey Weinstein, but pre all of this coming out, you've got one of the richest people in the world, Jeffrey Epstein, coming after you, and Alan Dershowitz, one of the most prominent lawyers in the country, coming after you. I can't necessarily blame ABC if they're saying, we're not sure we've got this quite nailed down to take those two on.
That seems like the most important piece of this to me, and I think it's a detail that's been buried in some accounts. It was reported by David Folkenflik, and I think the LA Times as well, that initially Virginia Roberts Giuffre's claims were part of the court record, which meant that they were reportable in a way that wouldn't open ABC up to legal risk. Then those records were sealed, and all of a sudden ABC didn't have the same luxury of just reporting on these allegations without worrying about whether they could substantiate them independently. So to me, you know, that is reason to think about cutting ABC some slack here. That being said, her claim that there was concern they wouldn't be able to report on the royals if they made Prince Andrew look bad, that has the ring of truth to me.
Totally true. Yeah.
It's a minor detail, but I'm struck by the fact that Amy Robach, I guess an experienced journalist, is spewing all this stuff on the set with the mic on. Hello. That's the first thing.
Anchorman 101.
Yeah. You don't talk trash when you're in the
about
studio.
Your bosses or anyone
when
else.
you're anywhere near the mic, right, because that's what this will happen. Now, look, I share the sentiment there that while, you know, we all want to see the truth come out, and we'd all like to think of media organizations as these valiant crusaders who are tough and stand up to pressure, and they should. You know, when Dershowitz is on the phone, backed up by hundreds of millions of dollars, oh boy, I don't blame the brass, as you guys are saying, for wanting to take a deep breath and a second look
and make sure it's right. Yeah, and that's the thing that got me was the Prince Andrew thing. I was like, okay, so this was really about making sure there was some access coming on later, and we didn't want to muddy the waters with all of this, and we had the pressure coming from. And I'm sure all of us probably have. Have you been on the end when the lawyers are calling your boss? Because I've been there, and it's a much different situation when you can say, "Go right ahead, we got it." Then, well, you know, we think we got it. I mean, you really have to. You have to be very, very confident. And even with being in that confident position, that doesn't stop anybody from coming after you still. So that can be very, very uncomfortable.
You know what I think I'm interested in? Why give it to Project Veritas? I mean, they like to go after CNN. They like to go after liberal organizations. And they were kind of like couching this in, oh, well, ABC didn't want to ruin their contacts with the royals or with Jeffrey Epstein. But really, it made her look good, I thought. I mean, made Amy look good.
Well, I think their point was the Clinton line that, you know, so far it's in there, but people were so struck by many other things having to do with that conversation. And actually, I'm curious, who is she talking to? Now, you all were talking about, doesn't she know she had the mic on?
She was talking to a producer who was...
But that's so weird.
She was in a promo booth, apparently, where they usually do TV promos. But you know what that's like now. The feeds go out, and they're into a different, different edit rooms, and all they got to do is hit ding, record.
You know, the underlying implication here, both in the NBC case and now in this ABC case, is that, well, these wealthy white male managers wanted to protect one of their own, Jeffrey Epstein. That's a pretty harsh charge. I'd like to see a lot more proof of that before I believe it.
Although I would say in the case of Vanity Fair, I think the details that have come out there are pretty damning. More than with ABC, certainly, and maybe even more than NBC.
And all those guys still have their jobs.
Had a lot more to do with fear than it did with protecting their own.
And I think what you just said earlier